All right. Tell me
Episode 20.
Is it?
Here we are.
So what are we?
Well, 21's the benchmark one,
are we
apparently.
Oh, okay. So we're still
But
average.
yeah, we haven't hit that top 1% yet.
So the myth of multitasking.
The myth of multitasking. I wondered, I was thinking about this, and then Casey had brought it up with our spiritual mentor, he was a psychotherapist too prior to all this. So he's got a very well-rounded knowledge of everything. Anyway, talking about, I don't know what the exact number was or where the science was pulled, but it was essentially like a man can't be doing more than like 4 or 5 tasks tops. Like that's like pushing it. And not necessarily at the same time, even just more like 4 or 5 things on his plate, on his mind. Say in my situation, it's like, okay, product, business, studio, parenting, those are kind of 3 big things right now. Casey's content, there's 4, and that's like pushing it
For sure.
Like that's why I stepped away from some of my more like spiritual guide work. So I was like, I can't do this right now. I'm spread way too thin.
Is the implication that a woman can do more?
A woman's mind can process more, and they're just faster. They can just process things faster than men. It's interesting because it's that they can process faster and process more, but yet they shouldn't be doing more, which is sort of counterintuitive in a way for us. It's like we need to be the ones that process more and maybe be doing a little bit more, taking a little bit more action. But it was a few months ago where it was the first time I felt that, I don't have enough energy or enough mental capacity to be doing all the things that I'm doing. Like, what am I doing? Staying up till midnight and editing? Like, no, I can't be doing that. I need to be like a good parent in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? I know you have a lot going on. So where do you feel like your edge is?
Oh, 100%. I think multitasking is stupid as hell. And people who think that they are good multitaskers are not. Like, by definition, you can't multitask.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do one task at a time. And there's a sacrifice for every additional objective that you layer in. Like, actually, we've obliterated the definition of priority and decided to call it priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't even make sense definitionally.
That's very true.
What's the most important thing? Like, what are you doing? What is the most important thing in your life that you would sacrifice everything else for?
Yeah.
Everybody has that. Not everybody's aware of what it is.
What's yours right now?
It's always my goals. It's always my goals. I wouldn't even have picked my wife if she didn't support my goals.
Yeah.
If my wife got in the way of my goals, she wouldn't be my wife.
What's the priority out of your goals? Because I know you have multiple goals.
Right now, It's to create an amount of wealth that makes money never an issue or an obstacle for me ever again. And then I have my ultimate life objective, which is to build the school company that I've told you about.
Yeah.
And even when I have kids, I'm going to design my life around being equally present for them. And I manage my family the same way. I would say my family is incredibly important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I manage my parents and brothers and nephews and nieces and everybody in a way where they all know that I love them, and also they also know what's important to me. So it's becoming the best version of myself, hands down. So
was there a time you thought you could multitask? You thought you could handle doing a lot of things?
Yeah, I've always, even earlier this year, I took on more than, and as soon as I realized I was being ineffective in multiple areas, I was like, okay, time to start shedding.
Mm-hmm.
And even now I'm in a process of shedding, right? Like, I made a series of bets because a couple of years ago my business went under, and I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing now, so let me try to do a lot of things to see what's next. And one of the seeds is now growing into a tree very quickly, so I am slowly eliminating everything else.
How do you shed the other things if they're things that whether it's like a passion project or you think it can be something that's successful, whatever those are? Obviously you started planting those seeds because you thought there was potential there. So is it easy to just walk away from them, or what's that process like to decide I need to let this go? Is it simply just because you know this other seed is sprouting to a tree fast, Or is there any sort of attachment to it because you did start it and you do feel like there is potential there? I think a lot of people, that's where they might run into a problem, is they've planted all these seeds and they sort of, it's almost like you feel attached to them. Like you want to nurture them, you want to grow them, you think they still have potential. Maybe there's a fear of like this thing that is doing good might not be doing good in 8 months. So should I just give up on watering all these other seeds? What's that process look like for you?
What do you know what your objectives are?
Hmm.
I need to have $100 million liquid net worth ASAP. Are you going to help me get there or not?
Yeah.
No, you're done. Now, how you do the done part is really important to me. I want to leave every situation better than I found it to the best of my abilities. So when I shed my first gig earlier in the year, I tried to leave the team in the best situation possible. In my current role, I'll be done with it in two months. September, October, November, 3 months. And
it's a nice Christmas gift.
I'm giving myself a December gift. My birthday gift. And I'm hiring, I'm building up the team. I'm like working really hard on it to make sure that things don't fall apart in my absence. Like it may be received in a way that's completely out of my control, but I know with integrity within myself, and I talk to my business coach about this every single week, because I want to tell him to fuck off at least once, if not 10 times a day. But I'm like, no, that's not my standard. Those are not my values, right?
Right.
But I'm very clear. That I got clear on it in the last 3 to 6 months. Nope, this isn't it. I really enjoy it. I want to tell him to fuck off at least 1 to 10 times a day, but then also 1 to 10 times a day. I'm like, damn, this is really fun. Yeah. But I'm not here to have a bunch of fun. I'm here to do meaningful work and make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Period.
And not work for someone else.
No, I'd be open to working for somebody else if it achieved those other two objectives. If it was meaningful work and it made me a shitload of money, I'm completely fine working for somebody else. That somebody else has to be a fucking boss, though.
Yeah.
Like a fucking baller.
Yeah.
Because I need to be learning a lot. But, working for myself is not a criteria. So what about you? How do you decide what you're focusing on and what you're not focusing on?
I mean, it's similar. Is it feeding the ultimate goal? Is it serving me right now? Is it, when I'm doing it, am I thinking about the other thing that I should be doing? Like that's a pretty quick tell for me. We've talked about it before. Is it giving me energy or is it not? Or is it sucking the life out of me? And it's partially just taking an objective look and being, honest with yourself. Like, is this working? Is this seed actually producing anything? Or is my ego just telling me to keep pushing through on it? This studio, for example, I'm about to not give up, but I'm about to be like, it's not even a photography studio anymore. Like, I don't even need to advertise it as that. If somebody ends up like booking it because they want to take some photos here, great. But it's kind of one of those things I'm just letting go of even marketing it as like, oh, people take photos here. Because that's not what it is anymore. It's a podcast studio. It's a content studio. Like it's for video and for podcasting. I think there was a part of me in the past or not so distant future or not so distant past that maybe still held on to that because I'm like, well, it could like make me money still. What, am I just turning away a bunch of photographers from coming in here and renting the studio by not saying that? But then I look at other studios that are very photography specific, like that's their niche, that's what they're doing. Now maybe they end up having some video shoots there or whatever, but it is marketed as a photography studio. And I'm like, that's not what my studio is. It's nothing like that. So why am I even saying there's photography here? That was just like simply being honest with myself. Like, why am I continuing to hold on to that or stay attached to it?
I value the discipline of that, of saying no to the thought of, well, I could make a little bit of money, if I just, continue to half-ass this thing.
And in the past, I've done that plenty because there's the fear of not having abundance or not having money or not paying the bills. I'm like, I need every possible stream of income right now or any dollar that's coming through. Whereas I realize now when you let those things go, it allows for space for the actual revenue that you want to
Yeah.
come through.
Yeah, and like you can be strategic and structured about a path to making a decision, right? It's like once I realize like this is not really a photography studio, but I'm making X amount from it. But like that's not really how this place is going to thrive. Okay, you know, within 3 to 6 months, we're going to eliminate that. It's not like it doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm just going to take it down from the website right now. Maybe it could be,
Yeah.
but you know, it's not just because once I become aware that something is not serving me anymore doesn't mean I abandon it altogether right now. Then I sit down and say, okay, what is the path, especially if other people are involved or there's money that my family relies on because of it. Once I become aware, I have to say, okay, what's my responsible exit from this, right? That's in line with my personal values. And if you don't have your own personal values defined, then how the fuck do you make any decisions, right? Like life is about values and objectives, whether you are conscious of them or not.
Right.
Every decision you make, every waking decision that you make is because you have some underlying values or objectives, period. Even if you're out snorting cocaine off of fucking hookers' tits, you have an objective.
It's very true.
And you have a set of values.
Yes.
Period.
Oh God. Great analogy there.
You can't escape it.
It's funny. I think about sort of what the exit has been of the letting go of the photography part. And it started with like, I used to have 4 backdrop wall mounts. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's just take this down to 1, use it as needed. I started to take off just the word photography and say the social media or things like that. I think I started to remove it from the website like a little bit. But now in having this discussion with you, I think it's time to just go ahead and let that go.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because there's this part of me too that I miss photography so much. And Casey actually got on me the other day because I was kind of like, I want to get back into photography. I was feeling a little butthurt that like I have neighbors that have asked me about it and they are like, well, I need to book you. I need to book you. We have neighbors who comment on photos that I post and like, oh my God, these are so beautiful. We should get photos with you. And I'm like, well, why the fuck aren't you booking it? Like what is it? Like, why not? In Casey's like, you don't talk about your photography anymore. She's like, you don't post photos. Nobody sees your work. People have a short attention span. They're not going to remember that they wanted to book you and that maybe you posted some good photos like 3 weeks ago.
True.
I'm like, man, that's so true. And I was kind of getting into this negative Nancy, you know, really down place of like, I just haven't done any photography projects lately. And it's kind of bothering me, I think. I think that's why it was also hard to let go of the studio photography component because I felt like I was like letting go of a part of myself too. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I hear 2 things. It's like on one hand, Casey's right. If you want to make money on photography, then for sure people underestimate the sheer amount of times you have to repeat something.
Right, totally.
That goes for marketing, that goes for leadership. Like your job is basically to say the same thing over and over
Exactly.
again.
I mean, you look at the best content creators and the best influencers on it's the same 3 things they're saying over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that works.
Yeah.
It's good. Same thing with leadership. If you have values that you live by, your job as a CEO is to fucking say that shit over and over and over again until people are rolling their eyes because they're like, I fucking get it. Good.
Good. Finally.
Good. You get it. You get it because I'm fucking saying it over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that maybe photography is an objective, I want to rekindle that. Or I also have a lot of respect for people. I don't know that it's me, but I recognize another and respect it where like they own that this is my hobby and I'm not going to try to monetize this hobby because somebody says, oh, you're an amazing baker. You should open a bakery. It's like, no, you should fucking not. No, you shouldn't.
I know.
Opening a bakery is way more than baking a cookie.
Right, right.
And I love and respect the people that have that self-awareness, right? Where they're like, yeah, I love to do photography, but I don't want to deal with scheduling your appointment, making sure, the shoot happens on time, delivering your photos. Like, no, I just like to do it when inspiration hits or for my family and friends. Like, and I don't know which version is it.
I think that is the version that's the truth for me. And I think there's this version of still a bit of a scarcity mentality of like, well, I could make money for doing photography. Like I could go make $1,000 a shoot,
Well, that could also be a version.
Right.
If you,
right.
So then, okay, the layer into that, right? It's like, how much money do you want to make from photography?
Yeah. How much, what's the ROI on it? Like how much time am I putting into it for that return? Am I stepping away from my kids for a weekend or a day on the weekend or something? What's that value bringing to me?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a little side tangent. Sorry.
Yeah. But those are like all the, people don't get those inner thoughts out of their head and out in front of them. And then they can never make a decision about things, right? Like that's the benefit of basic shit. Like having a therapist, you get to talk about what's in your head and you get to hear yourself say it. And you're like, oh, okay. Maybe I can behave differently now. That's the benefit of journaling. You get it out of your fucking head. That's the benefit of our therapy sessions here with each other.
Get it out of our head.
Get it out of our head.
Flush it out. Flush that shit out.
I don't think I really give my time to people that aren't clear on their objectives.
Casey and I were just having this conversation of like really, and I feel like we've discussed it on here before, but maybe not too in depth, of who are we spending our time with and what friendships have we let go of, and not like any judgments against it or any wrongdoing. It's just like where I want to go. If the other people don't want to go there, not necessarily saying you need to go there with me, but you have that same mentality of wanting to get to the top or wanting to keep striving for more, then I don't really have much I can talk about with you or relate to or anything or connect on.
No.
I
can have love for people without like needing to be around them or talk to them all the time. Just I have love for everybody.
Yeah.
Like
same.
Period. And also like I don't want to talk to you. Thank you.
Do you ever, like, I know we're both very driven for our businesses right now, just because of where we're at, but do you like miss hanging out with people at all? Like the people that do fill your cup? No
way.
Yeah.
I love what I do every day. I'm looking forward to I look forward to Saturday and Sunday where there's not so much inbound demand because everybody else is on the weekend. So I actually get to think and not have to respond and take action so quickly. Like I can do more deep work, or I can just fucking sit there and think, or go for a 2-hour walk around the lake and process, because I'm a thinker, I'm a processor, internal processor. But no, I don't miss hanging out with anybody at all. Like the people that I love being around are so fucking locked in on what they're doing too. Yeah. So when we meet up for an hour or 2 hours, it's fucking hardcore, and we're like fucking letting each other know. We're like adding so much value to each other in the interaction and in such a dense amount of time that it's like you get ramped up and then you just keep going back and doing what you're doing, right? Like those are my friends.
It's pretty much how I feel after all these conversations that we have here.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I had to send back the products. We talked about it in a previous episode. They didn't come with any weight. Yep. So he was like, oh, just send them back. We'll put the weight in them.
Awesome.
But man, shipping shit to China is not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Insane.
And it takes forever. And it's going to fucking...
Well, I paid for like 4 days, but opposite though, China to here is cheap. They got it figured out. Like, because they're always doing it.
They're always doing it.
They're always shipping.
Oh, the opposite is not true.
No, opposite is not true. We're not sending a lot of stuff over to China. They don't give a fuck about our products over here.
That's so interesting. I want to go to China so bad, actually.
I do too. I want to go to China and Japan Really
I
bad.
wanna
I want to go to
too.
Japan.
I want to go to Japan more than China.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get our first million, let's take a trip to Japan together.
Have you been?
No, lots of people that I know have gone because there's also a mystery school in Japan that like the other Eastern world mystery school.
Yes, does happen.
So a lot of our students have traveled over there for classes and things.
Mm.
And then Casey's brother just went recently. He loved it. He almost stayed over there. He got offered a job.
A lot of people do.
Everybody talks about when they come back is how fucking clean Japan is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
true.
like, I want that. I want to go there. I want to see it.
And Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to see these deep rooted traditions in action.
That's what I want to see.
Like,
too.
that's what I want to see.
Yeah, we have such a particular way of living and viewing the world in the U.S., but the Western culture has kind of permeated the world in a lot of ways, and I feel like probably China in particular has its own extremely deep-rooted history, culture, and way of viewing the world. It's a thousands of years old culture that's evolved in its own way. And I don't think, like, until Henry Kissinger, we didn't really have insight into China. So we have like one lifetime's worth of insight into China from a Western perspective.
Right.
And it's obviously skewed, obviously.
1,000%.
Literally, you think China and then you think enemy.
Yeah.
Or fucking Walmart. That's the next stop, right? Like Walmart product. And it's like, that's not true. I know it's not true.
No.
But I just don't know what else to think. I want to go there to.
Yeah, we have very little data.
And if we do, it's like economic data.
Yeah.
It's political
Propaganda
data.
data.
It's propaganda data.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's one of the benefits of being multicultural and having lived around the world is you begin to see that the world's not the way the news portrays it. And honestly, the reverse is true now. When we were in Dubai last year and people like learned that there were some British people and they learned that we are from Texas and they're like, oh my God, aren't there guns everywhere? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Are you still riding horses to work?
Yeah, like, are you still riding? But no, the world very much views the U.S. as like, don't y'all have school shootings like every day?
I mean, it's the truth.
And it's like, well, I guess you're right that it happens more frequently than we'd like. And if that's what they're showing on the news about the U.S. plus Donald Trump, then we kind of look like a
very
dumpster
skewed
fire.
Perception. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a skewed perception.
Yeah.
But no, we're actually just kind of shooting podcasts, talking about our feelings, and I'm not worried about getting shot today.
I know. I realized today with the election coming up in November, I was like, man, I haven't watched the news in probably 5-6 years.
I think that change has happened since the original Trump election.
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of it. I was like, I'm done.
He went on about fake news, and I think it actually made an impact.
That is one thing I will say. Like, it's so true. Like, calling a spade a spade.
He called a spade a spade,
Yeah.
and I don't think he was wrong.
No.
I don't know if we're going to go into politics on this podcast. But anyways, what are we talking about?
I don't know. Anything else you want? What's been on your mind lately? Aside from 100 million portfolio.
Nothing.
And money.
Nothing. That's the only thing that's on my mind.
There's got to be something else going on in that head of yours.
It's not like $100 million is written right here because you got to break it all the way down. But I mean, I feel very much in my zone, and there's the getting there part.
Yeah.
It's not even about getting to 100 million, although I want all that money in my bank account for sure. It's about becoming the person that can have that.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get that? You have to be aware of what skills will get me there. I'm not going to sing on a stage to get $100 million. Nobody's going to pay me for that. I have to be able to build businesses because that's my skill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally building the company, right? Responsibly exiting my day job during 9 to 5 plus or minus some hours on the front and back end. And then every other hour I'm working on the business and I'm slipping it in between as well. Literally working from like 7 to 10 every day. There's literally nothing else except working out. So work-life balance, don't care. Trying to stay as healthy as possible. I have like concrete health goals, so I feel good there. Did my blood work, feel good there. Heather and I have good practices of like going on a walk every day. We have a high-low buffalo thing that we do every day to check in on each other. We're planning, some baby stuff that I told Casey about. So in October, we're going to be gone for 3 weeks. But that's just like a thing that has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like fucking keep the train moving. Like, you don't have this much clarity in every season of life. So when you have it, fucking go hard. Don't leave anything on the table with it, because a season will come again where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what my goal is. And I'll treat that season for what it was. I was in that season 18 months ago and I knew it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here, right? Like, I'm not going to, when we took a month off in Dubai after we closed our business, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm not just going to be busy for being busy sake. I'm not going to even try to be productive right now. I'm going to sit in the season that I'm in. And the season that I'm in right now is like, let me reflect on what just happened. And
in a weird way, it's almost like trying to be busy when you should be still is a waste of that time.
It's a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be still.
Yeah.
So be still. Right now, I'm not supposed to be still. I'm supposed to be fucking busy. Right? So same question for you.
Which was what?
What do you, I mean, I think your primary objective is to be a good dad.
Yeah, my primary objective is to be a good dad, to be a present dad, but also I want to fucking make that 100 million too. Like, and not just for me, it's for my family.
Do you think that you're doing what you need to do to make the 100 million?
I do. And also my ego always wants to get in there and be like, are you doing enough? Mm-hmm. I think that's the hardest thing for me to sit with sometimes is that, I mean, call it doubt, call it worry of like, am I doing enough? Could I be doing something more for the product to push it along faster? Is there something else I should be doing to potentially like start another business? Or is it good that I'm throwing all my eggs in the basket of the product? Not necessarily all of them. I do have the studio. I question that a lot. That's actually the one thing that's hardest for me for my mind to push past sometimes. And I know it stems from childhood little t trauma, which we've talked about this before. My dad being like, don't waste your talent. Like, you're not doing enough. And it's like, God, am I? Like, I try to take a step back. Maybe you can help me out with this. I try to take a step back and objectively look at if I were to meet me from a different person's perspective, what would I think about all that person is doing or accomplishing? Or, okay, so I'm a dad of two. The home I've gotten to build and live in is beautiful and amazing. I'm very proud of that. It's also like a little stressful at times knowing that's like my cost of living at times. I'm like, I got to make sure the bills are paid. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll question like, oh, did I jump into that too fast? But then I'm like, my kids fucking love it there. We love the neighborhood, our neighbors, the kids they get to play with. So I'm like, whatever, I'll deal with that stress of our cost of living right now because it makes my kids' life amazing. But I can't help but wonder sometimes, like, should I be doing more? And then I think, again, okay, if I look at this product and the timeline, am I just beating myself up that it's taken a year? Or is that like typical? I don't even know what to compare it to. And should I even be comparing it to something? You know, it is what it is. It's just, this is what it's taken. But also, were there mistakes on my part? Were there things I didn't learn that I could have made it better? Or is this just the process because this is the first product I've ever tried to bring to market, you know?
That's where you can give yourself grace this is the first time. The answer to your question of should I be doing more? The answer is yes.
Okay.
If you're asking yourself that question, the answer is yes. Yeah. Because when you're actually emptying the tank, that question doesn't come to your mind. And that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's very easy to justify overextending ourselves. Mm-hmm. On average, everybody does it because literally the average American is over their skis in debt. As a society,
Yeah.
that's our mode of operation right now. So it's very easy to say, I'll deal with it because everybody else is dealing with it. My kids love it, so we'll continue down that path. That's fine. Everybody can make their own decisions. But if the thought comes to my mind that should I have done more there? Is there more that forget should I have done? Is there more that I can do right now? The answer is yes. Because you know the days where you've emptied the tank.
Yeah.
There are days that you've lived where you've emptied the tank. That question didn't come to your mind at all.
Well, of course.
Should this product be on the market by now? Yeah, that's what I told you like last fucking June when you told me about it. This is taking a very long time. But it's your first time, so it's fine. The next time that it happens, it won't take you this time. I started a business 9 months after you have, and we're going to do our first $1 million by next month. Granted, I have more reps. And also, the first thing that I told you was like, don't let this take a year. It's taken a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in your head now. You're going to be pissed off at me later on, like he's fucking wrong, but then you're also going to be like,
I don't.
He's fucking right a little bit.
It's right and wrong. It's like, that's my thing is like, what, am I going to get wrapped up in, fuck, it's taken a year. Like, where are the missteps that I took? Or am I just going to be like, well, it's fucking taken a year, whatever.
It has taken a year, so it's taken a year.
Yeah.
So the question now comes back to how I live my life today and what we opened the podcast with, which is a man can't have more than a handful of things on his plate at a given time. And in a very macro sense, it could be like, okay, I have this theme going on, this theme going on, this theme going on. But where that really matters is, what are the 3 to 5 most important things for me to get done today? And I've told you on this podcast, I can go back for years and tell you what my top 5 most important things are. I'm very clear on that every single day. And I guarantee you, if I went out on the street and interviewed 10 people right now and asked them, what is the most important thing for you to accomplish today? I would be shocked if one was able to tell me.
Yeah.
We underestimate how important the simple things are when saying it. The Instagram culture has made it so easy to say like, I want to have $100 million. But the next question is like, do you really? Because it's not about, do you want $100 million? It's, do you want all the things that are required in order to get $100 million? Right. And most people's actions just simply don't match up because I have this reason and this reason and this reason. Then it comes back down to the objective. Well, my objective is actually that this is more important than the $100 million. And that's okay. But what's not okay is pretending that that's not true. Not coming to terms with myself that that's not true. Like my younger brother, his goal is not $100 million. I was actually thinking about it this morning. I have to have another conversation with him, which I don't want to throw him under the bus in this episode, but it's okay to be mediocre.
Is it?
Go ahead. Do it. But don't pretend like you want to be great.
True.
If you're going to be mediocre, be mediocre.
Yeah.
Mediocre for who? You could be a great, loving person. Everybody that comes in contact with you, you're giving. You contribute. You fucking bake cookies for, the PTA, and you show up. That's amazing. Like, I respect and love people that own their role in life. What I don't respect is just because who gets the attention in this world? It's the 1% of the 1%. It's not interesting to talk about the mom who baked fucking raisin oatmeal cookies for the PTA. It's more interesting to talk about the guy that sold his business for $4.3 billion after fucking swimming across the Pacific Ocean. That's more interesting. And now we live in a culture on social media where everybody talks about that because that's what gets attention, but it's not true for you. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying that's not true for you.
Yeah.
Just because you say it doesn't mean that that's what you're doing. And there's no respect in that.
Right.
There's more respect in saying, I'm going to be a great fucking dad. And nobody's going to write about me in fucking Fortune or
Right.
Forbes. Nobody's gonna, because there's 4 billion other dads on earth. But that doesn't matter to me. I'm not trying to be the best dad in the world for a magazine title. I want my kids to want to hang out with me in 30 years. That's so admirable. But saying that, oh, I'm going to be fucking XYZ and I'm going to have XYZ, but your actions are mapping to something else, time to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's literally not being okay with oneself.
Exactly.
Actually, I think I've said on this podcast that like the people that I like to surround myself with are like objective, driven and ambitious. And that's not true, actually. The people that I keep in my life are the ones that are able to be honest with themselves. Like I have a lot of people in my life who on Sunday I'm going to walk with a friend. His goals are not like fucking grandiose. He's somebody that tries to make himself better, but like he's super mediocre. And that's fine. It's fine because like whenever I've needed help, he's given me help. And so I have a commitment that whenever he needs help, I'm going to give him help.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need to be super ambitious. That's not important. I want people that we've talked about integrity on the podcast, right? And integrity is ultimately, it comes down to knowing what your values are, knowing who you are, and living in line with those things. So that's my soapbox. Know who you are, people. And if you don't know, figure that shit out.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important in this life than
To know thyself.
to know thyself and live your own life.
Yeah.
Don't live somebody else's life. It's never been easier to live somebody else's life because there's so many voices.
Okay, well, let me go back a little bit and ask you on a business level, what should I have done different to this so this didn't take a year?
The thing that you want to do with a new idea is test it as quickly as possible, because you don't know in the beginning if anybody wants it.
Right.
And so you want to test it out as quickly as possible. That's the initial challenge. It's not to create the perfect product.
Well, how would I test it without getting a prototype, though?
That's the work. That's the work. You could literally, the Facebook ads that you showed me, you could have published that a year ago. You could have ran Facebook ads against that, and you could have written a landing page that described the product exactly how you envisioned it, as if it was real, and seen if people paid for it. You could have drawn a picture and gone to 20 people and said, "Hey, would you pay me $100 for this?" You would have got some signal.
Yeah.
The job is validation early on.
Well, I got validation from everybody coming through here. Like
Yeah.
everybody that I have been able to talk about it with is like, yes, I will buy that. Yes.
Do they put money down on it?
No.
It's probably more important to ask you, like, if you look at a rope, in the last year of getting this product done, what did you do well? What did you not do well? And where was there slack in the rope? If it took you 12 months, where did you waste 6 months of time?
What took the longest was from second 3D print to first production quality prototype.
Okay.
I mean, truthfully, what hurt and what took the longest is just the time difference in China, like getting back to the manufacturer, getting our communication back and forth, and a little bit of like language barrier. So having to like even just describing and getting the beige color and then trying to figure out what that best color was via photos and email with a not so great camera in China that our manufacturer is using. So there's sort of a back and forth more on just making sure like, oh, is this the right color that we want? I mean, that alone took like fucking 3 weeks.
Okay.
Which, sure, I want to take extreme ownership and be like, okay, I could have maybe gone and got the Pantone color strips myself and then been like, this is the one we want, like for sure. But I was kind of I made an assumption, which I shouldn't have done, which was like, I would assume the manufacturer is going to have these Pantone colors. I didn't think it was going to be such a shitty camera he's going to be using. Like everybody has a fucking iPhone, and it's like, you're in China also. Technology is way better there.
I mean, that sounds like a solid takeaway right there.
No, I should have just went and got the Pantone strips myself. That would have solved that problem.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The miscommunication.
Well, I could have paid for the second 3D print. I had a friend do it with, not necessarily a amazing commercial grade 3D printer. So that took a little while, just that process of actually printing it. There was like one meltdown of the product, so he had to start it over. It's like, I could have just went and fucking paid for it to get
So
it.
the next time, would you have him do it, or would you?
I'd I'd get it paid for.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's number 2.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, obviously now waiting on the weight.
And that was again another assumption.
Another assumption.
Email, right?
Yeah.
So that's 3 things right there.
Yeah.
And so this is the benefit of like.
Yeah. What I would do next time is, this is the fucking weight I want. Here's the Pantone color that I want. Here's the dimensions. Here's this. Here's everything listed out perfectly. Now go fucking make it.
Yeah.
And get it to me now.
This is why like almost all successful entrepreneurs have a graveyard of dead ideas before them, because they went through this learning curve that they've collected all the ways of not doing things so that it comes together in the thing that actually works. So it's not the value is not to look at your past year and judge yourself and say, I'm a bad person because this took a year, or I'm incompetent because it took a year. No, it's objectively looking at the 3 things that we just identified and saying, I would do those 3 things specifically differently in the future. Yeah. And that's just how you get better over time. And that's how the next time you do this, it's not going to take a year. Maybe it takes 6 months. And then the time after that.
Well, we're going to find out, because we're going to start designing the other products here pretty soon.
This is the benefit of fucking getting the reps in and being like, fuck.
Which one thing I am proud of now is doing the cheapest product first, because now I presumably won't make these mistakes on one that's going to cost me a lot more to develop.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I guess I can hold on to that.
There's probably more if you sit down and really
There's way
evaluate
more,
it.
yeah.
And I would define those things, because it's within your control to shorten the learning curve by actually sitting down for 30 minutes to an hour and saying, okay, why did this actually take me a year? What are all the steps that we did? Then circle with a red pen. These are the parts that didn't have to take this long, or these are the parts where mistakes happened. Why did the mistake happen? Now it's in your brain. You've actually learned it, right? You've processed it. You are now a better entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But not everybody's going to sit down and do that work. They're just going to carry on because that feels uncomfortable, or I don't have an hour, which everybody has an hour, Yeah. When I do something like that, the thought of did I do enough doesn't pop up. I'm like, no, I did enough. I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making my butthole tighten up again.
I feel like that's my job with my friends.
That is your job.
I'm walking around with a clenched ass all the time. This is my self-talk.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. Well, that was a fun one.
All right.
Kind of went all over the place, but yeah. All right, guys.
It happens from time to time.
Thanks for a clenched butt this morning. Thanks for a clenched butt.
Whenever you listen to this, just go take a few deep breaths, unclench. Everything's going to be fine. And also get after it.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. See ya.